everyone, it's Claire here. So downward facing dog, or Adho Mukha in Sanskrit, is an essential pose in yoga. So during a practice we keep coming back to this pose, and it's also a very good pose to reconnect with our breath if we have lost it during the practice. So because we repeat it so often during practice, it's very important that we get the alignment right. So let's start demonstrating. So come to tabletop position on your mat. So you want to start making sure that your hands are very firmly planted into the ground. So you want to put your weight onto the mound of the fingers and the bottom of your hands, as well as the tip of your fingers. Alright, so let's try it. Hands shoulders apart. We're going to make sure that the weight of our hands is nicely distributed in these three areas that I showed you. And we're going to rock a bit forward and backward to feel the weight shift between the tip of our fingers and the back of our hands. Right, so now let's tuck our toes in and then lift the tailbone up into our down dog. So hands firmly planted in the ground, and then the next thing is you want to make sure that your shoulders are externally rotated. So how do we make sure we do that? You want to make sure the crease of your elbows, this part here, is facing forward. Right, so that makes sure that this is to ensure that your upper back is very nice and flat, as opposed to rotated out like this or too much depressed like this. Alright, so externally rotated shoulders. Next thing is some people tense their neck and keep it up like this. So this is puts a lot of unnecessary pressure in the neck. So we want to drop it, relax it like this, and if you can, you want to gaze at your navel, which is your belly button. Or if this is too much for you, you can choose or pick a point in between your feet or on the back of your mat and gaze at that point. Right, so next thing, we're going to look at the tailbone. We want to make sure our entire back is nice and flat. So we're going to tuck the tailbone in. So we don't want to stick the tailbone out like this, or we don't want to have bend in the lower back neither. So we're going to tuck the tailbone in to keep a nice and flat back like this, right? And so next thing, we're going to rotate the thighs inwards. So we're going to rotate, as we rotate the thighs inward, we're going to send the sitting bone up and push the heels down. Feel these opposing forces, right? So although it may seem like you're just hanging out in downward dog, this is an active pose, so you're actively working on it. Rotate the thighs in, lift the sitting bones up and push the heels in. Right, so that's a nice and aligned downward dog pose. Feet are hip width apart, and try to push your heels to the ground. If you can't do that, then you can lift the heels, keep the heels lifted up, and have a slight bend in the knee. You can also walk your dog in order to stretch out the hamstrings, the quads, and the calves, and eventually you'll be able to have the heels on the ground. Alright, so let's come back to tabletop, shake it out a bit. Okay, thanks for watching. So I hope this alignment tutorial helped, and keep an eye for the next one coming up soon. Thank you.